We've got a little great-granddaughter. Her name's Piper. And she's just turned 5 years old last week or so. And she's a special little girl. We used to go to a restaurant and eat, and they had little toys for kids. And when I paid for our meal, she'd go up there with me, and they gave her some little rings. And the last couple of times we went, they didn't have any of these rings, so kind of got me interested in making her a ring. I've got this little metalworking lathe, and we're going to chuck this dime up in this chuck here. And we're going to drill us a little hole in the center of it. A lot of these guys, most of them I've seen, punch a hole in it. And we got one of these step drill bits. Here we go. Now we've drilled a hole in this coin. It is 3/8 of an inch hole in it. Here we are back over at our lathe, and I've got it chucked up in a little jig. And using a file, I'm going to file the reeded edge off of the coin. I don't like leaving that on there. Now it's time to determine which side we're going to make the outside and which we're going to make the inside. And on these particular ones, it's got "In God We Trust" on the head side, but the tail side's got a kind of pretty detail. So I'm gonna use the tail side out on this. So I turn it down, and I got some little old delving balls here that I'm going to use. And by the way, I forgot to tell you that I annealed this dime between times. That's a very important part of this process, is to heat this thing up dull cherry red. And you got to be real careful with these dimes, because you can overheat them and just melt them, really. Now here we are with after we got out of the doming block here, with one of my little homemade tools. What we're going to do is, it's too small to go on our ring stretcher at this point. So we're going to stretch this thing out a little bit. We annealed it. I won't show the annealing process every time, because you got to really do it often on these little rings like this. But here we go. We're just going to do just a little bit here. And this is a little homemade 5-degree die that I made. And we'll put it down in there. Now I've got a little, I'll show you on another one of these. I've got a little lip turned on these things to hold it straight. And I think that's a big factor in getting these things to do right. I've got a little piece of dogwood here that I used to knock that back out of there with. Now that pretty much got the lip straight on it. Now we're going to work on the inside of this thing with a little reamer. This is a little carbide reaming tool, and we use it with water to kind of float the shavings off of it. Now we're going to change to some 80 grit paper. Now we're going to jump up to some 400 grit paper. Now we're back over here at our little lathe again. And we got it mounted on a little homemade mandrel. And we're going to work on the outside edges to take that sharpness off of them. We've annealed this thing, and again, And we're gonna see if we can fit it on this ring stretcher. Just barely big enough to go on there. Now we're shooting for a size 3. That's a 3. And that's a 3. And I believe that's going to be about the final size of it. A little delicate looking thing, ain't it? Now we're going to do some polishing on it here with a little Dremel type tool and some white polishing compound. Now we're going to mount it on a little different tool here. All these are homemade tools, most of them. Now we're going to switch to some polishing compound, or actually some silver polish. This is semi-chrome. Sometimes I use Mother's mag wheel polish. It all works about the same, I believe. And there's the finished product. Special ring for a special little girl. 5 years old. Little Piper.